Welcome to video 19, the last video in the Aspiring Flutists Epic Inspiration course. This video is all about improvement, yes, and what I call the long game. But I want to check in with you before we go any further. Are you really ready to improve? Are you ready to dig deeper, climb higher, and go further with your flute playing and musicianship than you ever have before? If not, I totally understand. It takes a commitment to upgrade your musician identity. So if you're not ready yet, that is okay. All the other videos in this course will contain enough clues for you to make incremental improvements. And that's how we grow, incremental improvements. This video is going to go deep. We're going to talk about real stuff because great musicians are always on a growth path. Great musicians have a lifelong growth mindset, and that growth has to do with your mind, your body, your heart, and absolutely the way you experience flute playing and music. So if you're not ready, I'll see you another time. If you are, let's get started. Are you really ready to improve? As simple as it sounds, the very first thing you must do if you want to take your flute playing to the next level is make the decision to take it to the next level. Instead of feeling frustrated about what you haven't accomplished yet, switch 100% of your attention to what you are determined to accomplish. Once you have made the decision to go further, you must raise your practicing standards. If in the past you have been satisfied practicing only notes and rhythms, you must now be dissatisfied until you have practiced dynamics, articulation, and style. If in the past you have been satisfied with just getting through your music, you must now be dissatisfied until you can play through your music with confidence, clarity, and ease. Your practicing must intensify and expand to include the new standards you have set for yourself. Now, I'm reading to you from Chapter 7 of the Aspiring Flutists Practice Companion. Just like we did in video 16 about performance anxiety, we're going to go through the chapter and I'm going to add plenty of commentary and share with you additional perspectives and reflections. My goal is that by the end of this video, you will be poised and ready for a paradigm shift, ready to raise your standards and make it to the next level. Who you think you are as a musician influences how well you play. If you think of yourself as a struggling student, then playing with hesitancy, a small dynamic range, and plenty of inaccuracies will make sense to you. On the extreme opposite end of the spectrum, if you think of yourself as one of the finest flutists in the world, then your standards of playing would include confidence, dramatic dynamic contrast, beauty, nuance, and control in every moment of every performance. When you begin to upgrade your identity to the musician that you want to be, the decisions you make will start lining up with the new version of yourself you want to create. Now, it's a nice thought, right? But the reality of going into the practice room and thinking differently takes a lot of courage, and it takes a willingness to feel kind of weird for a little bit. If you are a flutist that has been struggling with elements of flute playing, or you have a history of struggling, you can almost feel like you're lying or being fake if you go into the practice room and try to practice with a sense of elegance and artistry. But I would like to tell you right here, right now, that is what you need to do. Even if it feels weird at first, it's just like anything else. Think of a scale that at first was tricky for you, and then you practiced it, and now you know it. It's the same with your musical identity. It's going to take longer, but you have to start somewhere. And the only place you can start is today in this practice session. In order to dedicate yourself to higher level practicing, you must also dedicate yourself to higher level thinking. And in order to upgrade your thinking, you need to become aware of the thought patterns you would like to change. Thinking about thinking is called metacognition. Metacognition is a powerful tool for any musician who wants to examine and upgrade their practice habits and their musical identity. Now, if you're not familiar with this concept, it can seem very strange at first. Many music students, and really most people in the world that you're interacting with on a day-to-day basis, just out and about, are not aware of metacognition. And in fact, they tend to think that the thoughts that they think just happen to them. They think that whatever they're thinking, which is usually reactionary, is something they cannot control. It's just normal to them. And until you learn that your thoughts can be selected, you can take the thoughts seriously that are leading you on a path that you would like to go, and you can let the thoughts that are not leading you down a path you would like to go fade away until you figure this out. You're going to be kind of tossed about by your different moods. And if you are practicing your flute and something sounds bad, or you make a mistake, or your technique is messy, then your mood is going to fluctuate a lot. You're going to feel worried or disappointed or frustrated or impatient. And then those chemical reactions from those emotions, those contribute to the thoughts your mind thinks. Now, if you change your perspective and you decide, you know what, I want to be a more positive thinker. I have listened to this video from the Aspiring Flutist Epic Inspiration course, and she was talking about metacognition, and I want to look at my thought habits, and I do want to upgrade my musical identity. You can start to hear the thoughts when they come and then select better ones. Now, this is a little tricky at first until you get the hang of it. So you may want to start a practice journal that's about so much more than just, I played this tricky section at this tempo, or these are my practice assignments. Those types of practice journals are very good as well. But this practice journal that I'm talking about, it could either be added into your typical journaling, or it could be a whole separate project. I'm talking about chronicling your thoughts. I practiced this piece today and I felt frustrated. And then respond to the thought with a better one. But everything is unfamiliar until it's not. Things get easier as I practice. Repetitions make things easier to access. If you respond to the lower level thought with a higher level thought, even if it's journaled out, even if it takes you extra time or it feels weird at first, you can start to program your own thoughts. Now, again, just like we talked about with upgrading your musical identity, this may feel weird at first, strange at first, but I'm telling you, if you want to become a better musician, pessimism is not going to get you there. Being tossed about by whatever thoughts float into your mind when you're hungry, tired, cranky, that's not going to get you there either. If you want to upgrade your practicing habits, use metacognition and start to upgrade your thinking habits as well. If you've watched the other videos in this course so far, you know I love the word sfumato. I think it is essential to be able to embrace the tension of opposites in order to grow as a musician. For you as a flutist, sfumato can mean being able to hold two seemingly opposite musical instructions in your mind, embracing the fact that you may not understand yet how they can both be accomplished. Knowing that sfumato is an important artistic concept, you can learn to appreciate both of the opposing ideas and stay open to the possibilities their dual existence may provide. Here are some examples to show you how embracing sfumato can help you find solutions. First example, your flute teacher instructs you to sing out during your solo, but your conductor insists you are playing too loudly. Second example, you enjoy the dramatic way the flutist on your favorite recording stretches out a beautiful phrase, but your professor asks you to play it more in time with the metronome. Example 3. You know that performing well requires a clear head and a sense of freedom, but you also know that it's important for you to focus intently and play every musical detail as accurately as possible. From a professional musician perspective, all of these scenarios might make perfect sense, but from a student or amateur perspective, they may not. Even if situations like these confuse or frustrate you, it doesn't mean it's impossible for you to handle the opposite ideas. It just means you don't have a frame of reference yet to merge both sets of instructions or philosophies into one accessible set of actions. If you allow confusion or frustration to guide your thoughts and actions, your response to the first example might be to play your solo really softly during rehearsal to keep your conductor happy, but then play it a completely different way for your flute teacher. In the second example, you might do what your professor asks and play the phrase exactly in time, but then secretly resent the fact that you were asked to play it metronomically. In response to the third example, you might wish you had a clear mind and feel freedom when you perform, but feel resigned to the fact that your mind will always be filled with pressure-inducing to-do lists. If you are not able to embrace sfumato, if you are not able to embrace metacognition, you might feel like busy brain is inevitable, and actually, it's not. If you are able to embrace the concept of sfumato, your response to each of the three examples could be much more empowering. You could stay fully present in each scenario instead of getting lost in your own frustrated thoughts. You might be able to access your patience, creativity, and musical instincts to figure out more satisfying musical solutions. In the first scenario, you could try an effortless unforced sound with a passionate cantabile vibrato that might please both your flute teacher and your conductor. In the second scenario, you could discover that practicing with the metronome lays a strong rhythmic foundation, which actually helps you stretch the phrase in a way that makes good musical sense. In the third example, you could invest more quality time internalizing the musical details until they become a part of you, leaving your mind clear and your spirit free to enjoy the music right along with your audience. One of the best ways you can take your musicianship to the next level is to learn that inside each failure is the seed of a future success. Instead of feeling like failure means failing down, think of it like failing up. Though not winning the prize, getting rejected, and playing badly in public are all very disappointing experiences, there are lessons to be learned when they happen. If you focus only on the disappointment, you will miss the lessons. It's okay to feel disappointed, but also ask yourself this empowering question. How can I get closer to my goals next time? I love the idea of using phoenix as a verb, rising from the ashes. Next time you have a musician disappointment, you don't get the prize, you don't get first chair, your friend gets more recognition than you do, or you really wanted validation but you didn't get it. Next time that happens, I want you to try phoenixing. Feel the disappointment, go, have a Starbucks or something to self-soothe, but then tomorrow, get up a little earlier, practice a little longer, set new goals, raise your standards. Use the disappointment today as fuel for doing better tomorrow. If you want to take it to the next level, you've got to get good at following the clues. Here are 3 scenarios that will illustrate how following the clues could absolutely change things for you. Scenario 1, you love the way your flute teacher sounds and you wish you could sound like her. One day she casually mentions how much she loves the soprano Renee Fleming. Scenario 2, you respect your conductor, but you don't understand his musical references sometimes. And during this one rehearsal, he stops and says, "Flutes, this is Mozart, not Mahler. Try to contain yourself." Scenario 3, your friend is a confident clarinetist and you wish you were confident like her. One day, you see her tuck a book in her bag called A Soprano on Her Head. In each of these 3 scenarios, it might be tempting to ignore the clues. You could dismiss your flute teacher's love of the soprano Renee Fleming. You could just feel dumb that you didn't catch the Mozart versus Mahler reference. Or you could just think that your friend likes to read and it was just another book. In each case, you would have missed out on knowledge, understanding, and inspiration that could have changed your musical life forever. If you recognize the clues, though, you can follow them and you can discover new educational and inspirational experiences. In scenario 1, you could follow up. You could ask your teacher about Renee Fleming, and she might tell you that she often thinks about the silky elegance of her voice when she practices her flute. In scenario 2, you could talk to your conductor after rehearsal and explain that you want to understand the difference between Mozart and Mahler. In scenario 3, you could ask your friend, "Hey, what was that book I saw in your bag?" After following up and getting more clues from your initial clues, the first scenario, you might go home and watch YouTube videos of Renee Fleming singing Costa Diva and Ave Maria. You could begin to understand how the beauty of her voice could have inspired your flute teacher, and you are now way more motivated to work on your own tone. Not only have you sparked motivation for yourself today, but you have also discovered a powerful connection between singing and flute playing, which you could use in countless ways from this day forward. In scenario 2, after your conductor explains the difference, he recommends that you listen to Mahler symphonies. He says maybe you should start with Symphony Number 2 and listen to the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra on YouTube. As you listen, you could be overcome with emotion and realize you have never experienced drama like this in music before. The grand finale to this larger than life symphony could be a mind-blowing experience for you. You already loved Mozart before you talked to your conductor, but now for the rest of your life, you will also have a deep connection to Mahler's music. If you actually read A Soprano on Her Head because of the interest that was piqued when you saw it in your friend's bag, you could be completely engaged and feel like Eloise Ristad wrote this book especially for you. Over the next couple of years, you are able to apply the lessons you learned from the book, and you could ultimately develop more self-confidence as a musician and a person. If you follow the clues. The ripple effects are endless. If you want to take it to the next level, get really good at following the clues. If you want to create your ideal musical future, begin by behaving as if you already have it. Whether you want to play in a professional orchestra, teach at a university, direct a middle school or high school band, teach private flute lessons, play local gigs, create your own chamber group, or work a job in a different field while keeping flute playing in your life as a creative and uplifting hobby, the way to achieve your future goals is to work and act as if you already have them. As you practice daily, perform every time you get the chance, go to as many live musical performances as you possibly can, take lessons, ask questions, keep listening, and keep learning. You are investing in the kind of musician you want to be tomorrow. We've already talked about phoenixing, but let's chat a little bit more about those difficult musician moments. There are going to be times when you don't win the prize, you don't make the cut, you don't get the musical opportunity that you wanted, or maybe just times where practicing feels hard to do, or where you're discouraged, or feel like you've lost your love of music. Anytime you are experiencing musician difficulty, musician life difficulty, think of this story. A man and his uncle had gold fever and went to California to seek their fortune. They dug and dug, thrilled to find and then follow a vein of gold ore that seemed as if it would provide them all the riches they would ever need. Then suddenly the gold supply stopped. They couldn't find any more gold. They kept digging until frustration overcame them and they lost hope. After selling their digging equipment to a junk man, they headed home, giving up on their dreams of the rich life. The junk man took the equipment, found the place where the two men stopped digging, and discovered the spot where the vein of gold ore continued, just 3 feet from where the men had given up. The junk man went on to become a millionaire. That was a paraphrased version of a story written by the motivational author Napoleon Hill, and I hope that it's as meaningful to you as it is to me. I think of this story so often, it is a part of me. It helps me remember that no matter how difficult the challenge and no matter how long the road has felt, I never want to give up before all my hard work begins to pay off. In fact, remembering that I might always just be 3 feet from gold is exactly the way I was able to write my books, to make this course, and to do anything meaningful that I have accomplished in my musician career. If you want to take it to the next level, you have to be the person that doesn't give up, that doesn't experience the disappointment and then use it as an excuse to not follow through and find out how to fulfill your potential. It may seem like only validation or only prizes or only good experiences are the fuel for you to keep going and growing, but actually, it's the musicians who can take the failures and find those seeds of future successes. It's the musicians who don't give up 3 feet from gold that not only make it to the next level, but truly become great, become artists, become the best flute players they can possibly be. So if you have been kind of walking around with the weight of musician failure, of not feeling like a great flute player, realize every great flute player, every great musician has had these same stories. It's just up to you what you're going to do with them. I adore The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis. As much as I love each of the books, especially The Magician's Nephew and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, my favorite scene from all 7 books is in the last battle, the final book in the series, when Lucy begins to understand that she is not really leaving Narnia after all, but rather looking at a world within a world. Mr. Tumnus, the faun, describes it by saying that it's like an onion, but as you go in and in, each circle is larger than the last. She learns that the only way to get to the great and beautiful world where she is headed is by going further up and further in. Going further up and further in to me means digging deeper, climbing higher, going further, and ultimately discovering new worlds in the same concepts you thought you knew before. I've traveled further up and further in so many times in my musician's journey, growing as a person in direct relationship to my growth as a flutist, a musician, and a teacher. Every time I failed and kept going, I was able to dig deeper. Every time I realized that the path ahead of me was way more challenging than I had originally expected, I found a way to keep climbing. I love when it's time for me to discover old concepts in new ways. It is actually amazing to look back and see how the world of practicing has transformed for me. In some ways, my practicing still looks like my old practicing world. I still warm up. I still work on my technique. I still learn pieces with a metronome, and I still face plenty of personal and musical challenges. After going further up and further in so many times, however, there are ways in which practicing feels completely different, more meaningful, and infinitely more rewarding. Instead of the torture sessions from my past, practicing feels like a vacation from the stresses of daily life. Instead of struggling to obtain approval from others, I give myself the approval when I need it and am often too busy exploring my own creativity, imagination, and connection to the music to need it at all. The reason I am sharing these things with you, the reason I wrote my 3 books and I made this Aspiring Flutists Epic Inspiration course is because I wanted to share what I think going further up and further in could mean for you. Some of the concepts we've been talking about in this video and the entire course may speak to you now, or you can save them for a time down the road when they may. Truthfully, I made this course and I wrote my books to help you go further up and further in, not just to benefit your flute playing and musicianship, but to help you go further in your life. I will be so grateful if any of the ideas that I've shared with you help you move forward with more confidence, clarity, and belief in your ability to handle challenges, musical or otherwise. It will mean that all my struggles as a young musician were worth it, not just for me, but for you too.